Hey, what's happening? It's Jamie. Just driving in here. Another snowy day today. Not too bad. I would say maybe a couple inches of wet, heavy snow. Dropped the girls off. Just wanted to do a quick video. And what I wanted to really talk about today was not so much about portfolio stuff. That's not really all that important. Nobody, other than my kids, friends that are investing, that might have some interest in, hey, how you doing? What are you doing? It's not like that big of a deal. So I can talk about stocks, options, cryptocurrencies, like anybody else in my own style, which I'm happy to do so. But what I've been trying to think about going forward this year and what my plans on how I'm able to execute are real life things that come up day to day besides just buying a stock that you're going to hold for 10 years or trade in a couple days. Right now, I'm looking at investment opportunities for real estate. That is my personal number one priority. There's a bit of urgency for me because as I've gotten older, I realize how important, in my opinion, real estate is in your portfolio. If you know how to manage it, how to invest in it properly. And I'm not an expert. I'm just saying that the most money that I've made to date in my lifetime has not been from my job. It's been through real estate. And what I mean by that is not if I add up all the years I've worked and what I've earned as an employee for a company or a corporation or an auto group or whatever, but as I've gotten a return on what I paid for a property and the return I got for what I owned it for. Basically, it paid for itself and I made money. The job, the way you pay for yourself is hours. Like I just gotta show up to earn the money, regardless of the how they break up your pay, whether you're a salary employee or a commission based, or both. I've been both. So as I had an opportunity come up, a potential opportunity where somebody in Boston, through a conversation, and this is the point. I had a customer come in where I was just doing some paperwork, and the deal that I was going to make was not a profitable deal. It was not a deal that is a home run or something where you're like, hey, this is a great deal for us. It's more like, we're making a sale, right? Doing a unit. And that's how it goes sometimes, right? Sometimes you do pretty well, sometimes you do not so well. Sometimes you go, what am I even bother doing this for? But some deals I don't think are worth making in any playing field, whatever it might be. So anyway, the person comes in, tells me about a death in the family, in conversation, friendly, polite conversation. As I try to be a professional, even though I was discouraged, quite honestly, that the deal I was making was really to no big benefit, selfishly to me, right? But I'm like, I'm going to be nice and polite and professional, and that's what I did. And the person in the conversation shared with me some personal stuff. I listened. I always do my best, or that's how I feel, to listen, to be an active listener. And sometimes opportunities come up. Well, this is a perfect example. The person shared with me about the death in the family and a piece of property in Boston that they own that they have to get rid of. I said, really? Now, I'm not going to get all the details, but it's a pretty desirable property. And I said, well, you should keep it. Why would you sell it, right? If you inherit the property, just keep it. It's got to be worth quite a bit of money. And the lady said, yes, it is. But I don't want to bother. And she goes, I've been cleaning out the property because my parents lived there for 70 years. And people are approaching me, contractors are like, hey, I want to buy your property. Hey, I want to buy your property. And I was like, oh, great. You don't have to even worry about a broker, taking 5-6% or whatever they get. And or 4%, but usually it's around 5, right? 5 or 6%. And she said, yeah, and she got very emotional. She said, they're going to tear it down. and they're going to build, something else. And I grew up in that house. I was like, oh. I said, well, if I bought it, I buy some properties. I wouldn't tear it down. And I gave her my story, and I told the person, what my plan would be if the other thing didn't work out. And if she still wanted to avoid a broker and wanted to make a sale and not see the house get tore down, I would be a buyer. The price point that it is not outside of my price point. So I wasn't just saying it just to say it. And I'd have my own plans. Now, the customer seemed very open to that. It doesn't mean I got the deal, that I got the property, but I open up a possibility of maybe having the potential to buy this property. Or the opportunity to buy the property. Now that wouldn't have came up if I had the wrong attitude. If I was just, rude or quiet. Sometimes people shut down. They just want to get things over with and whatever they're doing and move on. And they never find these opportunities that are right there in front of them because they're stuck there. You're focused on the wrong thing. And I understand the emotion of like, oh, I'm here to do this and I'm not getting this. And why am I doing this? And you can get really spun out, or tilted, as I like to say, as a result of things not going the way you hope. But it doesn't mean that it can't turn into a bigger opportunity. Now, I'll let you know what happens with this if it does go somewhere. If it did go somewhere, the return on investment, the ROI on that, for what I'd have to put forward and what I would get out is 100 times greater, 1,000 times greater than what I would get just doing a deal, right? Maybe even 10,000 times better, because that deal could turn into literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not immediately, but over time, because of the location, because of the plan I'd have, because it hits all the check boxes of what I'm looking for. It is a single family, but she said you could make it a 2-family. It's set up that way. And that would be perfect. I'm all about multifamily for me. Units or, I've mentioned before, my goal in this next decade is to get going on condominium plexes, like 20, 40 unit or better, investments, apartment complexes. That is my next big play. But, man, if something comes along, I certainly, if I feel like, wow, this is right, and you're prepared, you can jump on it, right? How many times opportunities, if you're young, if you're my son, 21 years old, or 17-year-old son, let alone my daughters, or very young, but if you're a young person, then you have lots of, God willing, you have a long, life ahead of you. I hope that for you. And if you have 30, 40, 50 years, I can tell you that there'll be lots of opportunities that will come your way, that will present themselves just by showing up, just by you being present, and doing the things you're supposed to do, even if you're muttering under your breath or not feeling fantastic about it, right? It's tough to manufacture that some days, but you're human. So however you deal with it, that's a different topic. But by you showing up, that's half the battle. If you just show up, opportunity sometimes presents itself. And then the second part of that, in my opinion, is being prepared. So I've showed up many times and the opportunities present themselves and I'm not prepared. I don't have the means and the resources or the network at that time to execute. Sometimes things are way out of my league, but if you might just have the network, maybe the bigger guy or the girl or man or woman that's able to do it might throw me a bone for the lead, and maybe it might lead to something else. That's happened to me before. An opportunity might come that is within my means or in my inner circle where I say, hey guys, let's do this, and we are able to take advantage of this opportunity that comes up because it's immediate. One thing I believe is you got to act, right? Law of the jungle. When an animal is a predator, I'm not saying we're predators, but when a cheetah in the Serengeti spots a gazelle, it pounces, right? Like it looks for the opportunity, it spots the opportunity. And if you ever I was watching the other day on Netflix, like some show about nature and stuff, and the cheetah right, would go after, or the leopard or whatever it was, it went after this this prey, right? And there was different prey. And it doesn't hesitate, it doesn't negotiate, it doesn't wait and, I don't know, I mean, if I go this way. No, it goes. It knows what it's capable of. It knows what it can do, and it goes after it. And sometimes you got to go after it before your meal, so to speak, gets away. So I don't look at this person. For me, it would be a beneficial thing where this person would be happy because I wouldn't destroy the house. I wouldn't tear it down. I'd want to keep what's there, maybe even add to it a bit, and possibly use it for myself in some regards, and then rent it out. And because I think renting out an apartment in Boston is quite easy, to tell you the truth. So I would easily cover the expense and make a little bit, and it wouldn't be like I would make a massive amount of money each month, but we would still be positive cash flow on a great property in a great location. So those are the things that I'm looking for. And I'm glad that I wait, because sometimes you can force something. You can force a relationship. You can force yourself to try to, I'm not saying you can't push yourself, but I'm saying there's some things that you can't force. You got to let it happen. You just got to look for the opportunity. I mean, stay vigilant, pay attention. But when the right things come along, you'll know it for you. So now my wife, which I want to keep this short, is not always on the same page with me. We have different styles. Maybe that's why we've been together for so long. But we have different ways of looking at things. We don't always agree, and sometimes we argue about it. We don't argue like punch each other in the face through and call each other names. But we argue because I very strongly believe that this should be a certain way, right? Like, I think this is what I see, and I'm not going to conform just because she thinks that it should be the other way. And this is a relationship thing, but you got to kind of know where you stand in certain things. And sometimes I'm wrong, and sometimes I'm right. And we, hopefully we can acknowledge that and say, hey, you know what? I respect that you stood your ground on that thing, and you were right, or vice versa. Because if you go every other direction, like nothing really gets accomplished. Oh, you're just a yes man or woman. Yes, okay, yes, yeah, sounds great, right? Do some thinking. So anyway, I'll let you know how that plans out. But I just thought there's a lesson there, in maybe being in a situation where it's not the ideal situation, but it can still turn into something that may even be a bigger thing. One of the things I'll leave you with before it hits 15 minutes is Dana White was sharing a story. I was watching a podcast. I like Dana White. He's a little bit gruff and stuff, but he's very direct. And one of the things he said in his podcast interviews was the reason the UFC took off was because he got invited to a wedding from a friend that used to bring him to school every day. And he got invited to his wedding, and he went to this wedding, and he ran into I always say the name right, the Furtados, the brothers there. If I'm saying it right, but the two brothers there were there, right? And as a result of that, of those meeting up again, it turned into what the UFC is. Like through a series event, they gave him some money. They bought the UFC. They worked together. Their family had some money. He didn't, but he had the leadership and he carried it forward. And there was some rough roads that he talks about through there, but it was all by chance, through networking and through meeting in a series of events that, had they not gone to that wedding together, might have never been. So you could have one moment in your life where you cross paths with somebody that you think nothing of. You're never thinking, oh, this can turn into a big thing. But because of that contact that you made, a much bigger opportunity may come as a result of that alliance, of that friendship, of that relationship that you built. I think relationships, and I'm not talking about a man and a woman or whatever. I mean like relationships, friendships, bonds, and they're on different levels, are really one of the biggest things that can help you catapult you to bigger success. All right. And what you do in the meantime prepares you for those things. All right, that's it. 15 minutes. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day. I'll see you next video.